Happy Sunday, apprentices. So when you're wearing your COVID mandated mask, are you wearing it because you're actually scared? Fearful that you're going to get this virus? Or are you just doing it because everyone else is doing it? That's what's next on today's show. Trading Forex or any other financial instrument carries substantial risk. The topics discussed on this show are the views of the host and the producers only. You should consult with your financial planner before investing in Forex or any other financial instrument. Don't be a dumbass.
Welcome to Day Trading Plumber, episode 57.
57. Heinz 57.
I'm Matt Simpson, but you're not here for me.
They're here for the Heinz 57.
Pretty sure they're
Pretty
not.
good sauce, by the way. Matt and I kicked around an idea today. Let's talk about these damn masks. Whether you're a full supporter of the mask mandate or, as people have been so graciously named, an anti-masker, just because you don't really feel like wearing a mask. Apparently, we're just polarizing and people are getting on sides now. So I have seen this in the trading community as well. You're a trend trader. Get on the trend trading, side. And you put out a trade, because I'm on TradingView and I put trade ideas out there. And if what I recommend is counter trend, all these trend trading people come out of the woodworks. That's counter trend. How dare you? And what's really funny is when you really break it down, it's counter trend on that time frame I'm looking at, but maybe it's not counter trend on a different time frame. That's kind of how I feel this mask dilemma controversy has happened, at least here in America, because you have quite a few people who are just wearing the mask because, we generally, I think I would fall in this category. I wear the mask. I don't believe it's saving me from frickin' anything. And I don't believe these people that, it's stopping droplets. I mean, because, come on. I have to wear it walking through the restaurant. As soon as I sit down, I can take it off. There's just no common sense to it, right? It's just about control. It's about making you feel like you're doing something. And you see a lot of that in trading. When I put trade-ons with no stop loss. Oh, how dare you? You have to put a stop loss on. You're an anti-masker. Not necessarily. And, I've said it many times on the show. I don't recommend new traders. I don't recommend most traders to trade without a stop loss unless they've back tested it and they're sizing that position accordingly. And part of their trading plan means they have practiced 1,000 times or more how to trade their way out of that original position if it doesn't go well. Or they have a mental stop. I'm one of those guys. I don't necessarily put in the pending order stop loss, but I know where I'm going to close that trade. Now, if I know I'm going to go walk into a meeting, or we can talk about my, you're going to have to do the bath noise. We could talk about my bonehead move when I was traveling home Monday on the airplane. And it's a perfect example of mixing up your trading strategies, right? I was using a strategy that requires a stop loss. All right, let me break it down for you. So I've been trading the session box breakout. And if you're just listening to this, go to Alan FX Facebook page, follow it. And I did a live video 2 weeks ago, a week ago. They're all rolling together about this box breakout strategy that it's the byproduct of weeks of me trying to come up with a day trading strategy that works around my coaching business and me wanting to be in and out of the market from 4:30 to 11 every day. Well, Monday, I was traveling. I knew I'd be on an airplane during the U.S. session. So, I had told myself that morning that I'm going to skip today because I don't want to be caught in a trade on an airplane. You know, I don't have service. And I know you could buy the $9 Wi-Fi, but it's not a secure server. So then my trading platform's like, no, can't recognize server. I've tried it. So I get up that morning, I'm all packed, I'm checking out, and I look at the 4 a.m. candle and gives me a buy signal. This is the USDJPY. Now I skip it. I follow my plan for the day, but I watch the pair. And guess what happens? Amazing, quick, 2 hours later, it was in profit all the way to about 10 pips short of the pivot, which would have been my profit target. Would have been an amazing trade. I would have been done and out of it by breakfast time and not on the plane. So what do? I go, damn it, I missed it. So then there's a pullback. And I'm like, it didn't touch pivot. It's going to touch that pivot. So I go in, buy it, go through a little bit of drawdown, shoots up, $800 winner. Doesn't hit the pivot, but I close it a little too early. I was like, it's testing the top. I made a quick $800. Just stop. Right? I got some money made for the day. You're going to be getting on a plane. Because I closed that $800 winner too early, then I'm like, so I get in another buy trade. And now it's so close to that pivot. And if you watch that video, when I'm, with under 10 pips to the pivot, I take a pretty big position and I set a tight stop loss, a 5 pip stop loss. Well, I don't set the 5 pip stop loss. I get busy eating breakfast. Now I look, I'm like 3 times past I'm 3% in drawdown. And it was like the worst place because it like double topped. And I'm like, idiot. So now I'm going on the ride, which is a horrible ride because now you're going, well, I don't want to accept this loss. I'm already made $800. If you take the $800 I made and the 3% down, I'm really only like 1.5%. So I'm going to give this thing some room. But now we're getting close to the time I got to get on an airplane. And it's just moving further and further against me. It's funny what goes through your head. You're like, oh, it's beginning of the week. I got plenty of time to make it back. So I make the decision to not put a stop loss on this 10 lot trade.
Let me interrupt you. Does that violate a rule?
It violated many rules. So I get on a plane, no service. And part of me was kind of like, I really hope in 2.5 hours when I land, I look and it's this amazing giant winner. Because let me tell you the second mistake. I didn't put a take profit either. So it was just like, something's going to happen. It's either going to be super good or really bad. About 10 minutes into the flight, I was like, what did I just do? And this is my live account. It's not demo. This is my live $50,000 account that I'm, trying to test out to see if I could take a $50,000 account and make a decent living off of that and document the whole path. So then, maybe down the road one day, we can present to someone and say, hey, small business owner, did COVID destroy your business? If you have $50,000 capital, risk capital, you can do it. You can make 1% a day. you can possibly make 2% a day. Here's how I did it. So that's like the dream of what I'm trying to do right now. Not planning a giant trade and getting on an airplane. You're not going to get there.
Is there a MyFX book for that account?
Yeah. I'll give you the link. I'll share it. I haven't made a dime yet because this trade. So I get off the airplane back here in Denver. U.S. session's closed. Actually, we're getting ready to roll into my Asian session candle. I open it up. It's a $4,000 loss. Haven't accepted it yet. It starts to go up, starts coming back my way. And as it has started coming back my way, I kind of told myself I'm going to wait for the 1700 candle. And if I get a buy signal on that, I would normally buy. But now I'm just hoping that it goes back enough to where I get out of this mess. Well, I set a stop loss now. I was like, okay, it got down to a $4,000 loss or $3,700 loss. So I'm going to set a hard stop because now it's coming back. Well, it gets up to where it's only an $800 loss. And I'm like, all right. And then it shoots back down and hits my stop loss. So I take a $3,700 hit. And then guess what happens 2 hours later? It's a 17 candle and it's a buy. And you know what happens? I don't take the buy because now I'm shook up and I'm like, fuck, this is stupid. I don't take the buy and guess where it goes? All the way back up to the pivot, which was my profit target. And it would have been, the original trade would have been a $2,000 winner. And then I didn't take the next trade because so long story short, making those mental errors, breaking my rules caused me to not be confident because I was working outside of what my back testing results have given me.
Do you view that as a $5,700 swing or a $3,700 loss?
I view it as I did not follow my trading plan on Monday. I got lucky. I made $800 trading mid move from the strategy I was using. It's really easy to talk yourself into when you've been trading as long as I have and you have a pretty big, broad playbook of moves. If you don't look in the mirror that day and you say, I'm going to trade these 2 strategies on this pair and follow this set of rules, you're allowing yourself way too much slack. And you end up going, oh, it's in a pullback. I got FOMO'd because I purposely did not take the buy trade. Then I felt sorry for myself because I missed the trade, which I told myself not to trade. So then I was like, oh, I got to jump in. And that worked out. I should have walked away with the $800, got on the plane because I told myself, great, I scalped a good $800 during the U.S. session. Hang it up. And then let's get ready for the Asian session. Because I knew I would land to get home and be ready for the Asian session. And lo and behold, I ended up almost making back $3,700 in that Asian session. I could have walked away with $800. Never took a $3,700 loss, which I bent 3 or 4 rules and did the stupidest thing you could do, get on an airplane and not with a wide open 10 lot position.
Episode 54, How Strong is Your Playbook? It was only a couple weeks ago. You discussed the importance of having a broad playbook because the circumstances change. Did you include getting on an airplane with no stops, open 10 lots?
No.
It's part of that playbook?
No, that was pure gamble. I had a really strong reasoning that the USDJPY pair would be bullish all week, and it has been bullish all week. So it felt like I had this comfort that, on higher time frames, support and resistance totally supports this long. And that massive injection of bulls coming into that pair early Monday only reassured me that this pair is going to be long all Monday. And I kind of predicted it's going to go to 105, 8.800. And it's probably going to get there tonight. But because I put too big of a position on, because I broke my stop loss rules and got myself pretty much, when it was at 3,700, I'm risking 6% on one trade. 6%. No, a little bit more. 7% on one trade, which completely blows out the strategy I was testing. Because that box breakout strategy, 60% win percentage, average risk to reward is 1.5 to 2. So you have to cut those trades off at 1% losses if you want to be profitable. The last few weeks in our live AMA, we're sticking really close to 60% win percentage, but on one pair, it averages right around 10% profit each month if you just trade one pair, one session. Making a stupid bonehead move. And then what did I do? I closed it because I knew I broke the rules. I took the loss when I didn't have to. But I don't look at it as, I took the loss and 2 hours later it went all the way back. That's frustrating. What I looked at is I should have never been in that deep anyways. Because what do I always tell you and our followers? When you break rules and you get stuck in drawdown, that pressure starts to mount. And you start negative affirmations. And oh my God, and you're on, our favorite word, Hope Island. I really hope it's coming back. The gentleman I talked about a few weeks ago in that Stock Dads Facebook group where he went all in with his wife and his life savings on Tesla at the top.
On an option, right?
Yeah, he bought Tesla options. He was in 60% drawdown in a week. And he's like, oh my God, I'm just going to hold it forever. And I'm like, I don't know if you can, dude. There is a lot of downside risk. And I don't know if you've been watching Tesla lately. It's falling and, has its up, slightly up days. But if you bought it at 509, you're hurting pretty bad right now. And depending if you're trading with leverage, you could be in big trouble.
Do you think that people have a false sense of protection, which is why they have tight stops? And when should a trader move his stop loss?
If his system allows it. I don't want to be one of those people who says, well, you have to wear a mask because I believe in masks, right? Because that's the whole premise of the show. I actually think it's not my right to tell someone, hey, I'm in fear. I want to protect myself. I feel like I'm doing society justice because I'll take a little inconvenience to make sure we're all safe, even though there's absolutely zero science proving. If there was, right, here's an easy one, and I don't want to get too political in my decision, but there's no mandate on what type of masks. Coming from construction, when there's a PPE mandate, personal protective equipment, which a mask is, and it's to save lives. It's usually based on trial and error in the past, right? Like a hard hat has to meet a certain standards, has to be replaced at a certain amount of time because of the testing it's gone through. The science tells us.
Gloves have cut ratings.
Right. If you're doing this type of work, it must be this type of glove. If it's hot work, it must be withstand. So these mandates, and don't get me wrong, when the virus came, it came fast. We had to do something quick, but it's been 7 months now, and you can wear a damn sock over your face, but as long as you're following the rule. So in my opinion, as a critical thinker, it has nothing to do about the safety. It's just, are you going to fall in line and do what you're told? Now, to bring that back to trading, I see a lot of people coaching or telling people there's one way to trade. And this is the only way you do it. And you could tell where people are at in their careers or path or how they've been coached if you are presenting your style of trading and people are like, you can't do that. You can't. You got to have a risk to reward of 5-1. Or how dare you take your profit too early? Right? We've talked about that. Now, if you have identified that as a problem in your trading, taking your profit too early, because you look at the next 5 hourly candles after you close yours and you've done the homework and you realize that you're missing out on some profit because you're getting in good and, you're journaling and you just closed it because you were staring at the profit, not any technical analysis, reasoning. You're just closing it because it's a $500 win and you're just so happy that you won $500. That's different. You've recognized the problem. Now you need to work on it. However, if you're not closing it just because you set that take profit at what you need to pay your car payment and you're just hoping it gets there, then that's a problem. Then you need to start working on understanding what the price actions tell you and getting out. And not just because some guru on YouTube or wherever you got this trading strategy told you, do not move your take profits. You let your winners run and let your losers cut your losers off, which is smart way to trade. However, not everyone's going to relate to that. Just like not everyone believes masks help. Obviously, I've showed my true colors. I don't think wearing a mask helps. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a scientist, but I'm a critical thinker. And if we were really trying to stop something, it would at least be like, you need to wear this type of mask, not a panty over your face. And quite honestly, I think wearing a garment over your face that you spit in and cough in all day might pose more issues. It's just like, there are times I pull my stop loss and it works in my favor because price action's kind of telling me, for instance, in the AMA tonight, Duncan was talking about, do you ever use support and resistance for your entries? Not necessarily. However, I might use it to stretch that stop loss a little bit more. Let's say I have the setup and the stop loss, I want to add a hard 20, but I'm just above a support level. I might stretch that to like 25. Nothing drastic, not putting my account in any kind of super, oh my God, you're being a banana head like I did on the airplane. But I also don't want to stop out right at 20 if I gave it an extra little bit, which was an obvious support line, and I'm in a buy trade. I will use it, and that takes experience. That takes doing it a couple hundred times. And, knowing where you're at portfolio-wise, can you afford a little extra risk on this trade? And, what's going to tell me that is how far that profit target is. If I'm at like a 7-1 R to R, I can afford to stretch that stop a little bit. There is no one way to trade. There's no one way to manage open trades. It really boils down to, if you're going to be a successful trader, you need to land on a system that you can relate with, that fits your personality and fits your lifestyle. It's just like in real life, you're not going to enjoy a job that you hate. It's so funny how many people do that. They're miserable. They go in every day wasting their life because they go, oh, I have to pay my bills.
They justify it by security.
Right. And
they take into account the things that they're responsible for. Their kids.
They got a mortgage.
Their debt.
Their dad or mom told them they have to.
Right.
You grind it out.
But we've seen, like we talked about, we've seen that not only in the last year, plus maybe, but definitely in the last 6 months, that the traditional workforce model, while I don't think it's broken, is definitely not as literal as it used to be. There is now no shame in having employment gaps. There is now no shame in not having a pedigree. There is now no shame in moving jobs every 2 years. Rule of thumb used to be, 5 to 7 years?
Yeah. I mean,
otherwise, you were considered a job
when
hopper.
I was a
That's all gone now. That's all gone.
When I was a hiring manager, it was like, oh man, he has a lot of work history. We got someone that's been somewhere for 20 years.
I think part of it is the open market. You know, in the 70s, Nixon got us trading with China.
Yeah.
And that opened the trade. Well, in the market, the internet opened the trade market, opened the labor market. And while it's just as difficult to get a job, it's no longer as difficult to find who's hiring.
Right.
And people have far less tolerance for eating shit all day, especially when they have a skill set that people need. For example, plumbers. Plumbers know that plumbers are needed.
Right.
Journeymen and master plumbers know that people who can run plumbers are very much needed. And they're just not going to put up with it anymore. And that's really shifted, especially in our lifetime. All right. I'll see you around, dude. You do you, bud. I'm going to the competitor. Or I'm going to a smaller company where I get more autonomy. Or I'm going to a larger company because I'm getting a massive pay raise. I don't need to put up with this shit anymore. Good for them. You know, that's the free market, right? That's the free labor market. And so that's why they do that. That's why people are stuck in jobs, is because that's what they were told, even in our generation, by their fathers. Now remember that our fathers come from a generation of pensions. Well, those pensions are gone, and we've talked about this several times.
Yeah, I mean, people have pensions right now with the small yield curves and no interest. They are not going to perform the way they were told.
And if you read the newsletter this week, you will have seen that by 2030, the Social Security will be down 25%. They're going to cut the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to do something.
A program that you never had an option to not pay into,
right,
is now being
cut. So I think we
you.
should be able to sue the government.
Well, we're just suing ourselves then, aren't we?
Hey, pay us back. Yeah, it's interesting because I think it's great when someone has loyalty to a company and loyalty to a job and feels proud that they're doing their part. Where I have issues is when someone goes to a job they hate every day. And you only know this because they tell you, it just oozes out of their demeanor.
And they're punching the clock.
But they do nothing to better themselves.
Nothing about
right?
it. They just mope.
I'm not saying I haven't drugged my ass into a job that I knew wasn't my forever job for years. But I always was like, hey, I'm not going to complain about it unless I'm doing something different. If I'm not working on a better plan, it's a lot of reason why I got into trading. Because it's like, I know I needed a second source of revenue. In construction, you can get hurt. You can, construction dries up. You can get a really bad rap really quick. In the mechanical plumbing world, it's a small community. And, you fuck one goat. The next company hiring you, piss hot on a drug test, right? Because in construction, what I always thought was really funny, we get drug tested randomly. Just if someone calls in and says they're worried about you, you get drug tested. And I just think it's funny when people suggest that if you're on welfare, you get drug tested. That is invasion of privacy. And I'm like, well, that's funny because to operate a nail gun, I got to get drug tested. But nonetheless, people need to start thinking about how do they feel about stuff? What is their internal mechanisms telling them? And it's the same in trading. You know, you can get a coach. You can learn a lot on YouTube University. But eventually, you're going to have to find your own way. I mean, we do it all the time. I tell guys that follow me, I could tell you the exact strategy I use. But our results may differ because you're going to see the market. You might get knocked out. I might get knocked out. It really just comes down to repetitions. I mean, we said it. Barry Bonds can tell you exactly how he swings the bat. Are you going to be able to hit the ball the same as him without doing it 100,000 times? Probably not.
Well, that's just like what happened this week. For the past few weeks, I've been studying Facebook ads.
And
just how to do it. And it's a lot more complex to set it up than one would think. And I called it the circle jerk of permissions. And you and I went back and forth because I was trying to get it out anyway. I consumed hours and hours of content of people showing me how to do something.
Right.
But I didn't fall in love with it until I was actually doing it. And now I'm completely obsessed. And from a very particular minutia nerd level, the click sequences and the workflow. Remember, I'm a process guy. It intuitively didn't make sense at first, but now it does. And now what am I doing? I'm looking at other people's ads to see what they're doing.
Right.
But
now you can see behind the scenes.
Right. Because I'm looking at, well, what are they tracking? What are all the steps they took just to get to this part? Because I've done it now. And unless you're doing it, you don't see it the same way. It is impossible to do it.
A lot of people in trading find me after they've done it, and it's become hard now.
On a live account.
Yeah, and it's usually, I talked to this gentleman in Australia this week. Reached out to me, heard me on the Trading Nut podcast, got into our podcast, and he's like, I've been trading 6 months now. I did really good in the beginning, but now I got to get serious because took $5,000. Now it's down to $800. And I'm like, so you've been trading 6 months. You've never traded a demo. You just took $5,000. He's like, yeah, because, I don't learn anything unless it's real money. And,
what is that? 84% of his account that he lost?
Yeah. And he's not alone. So many people do it. And like you said, we're kind of doing the same thing. Let's just spend some money on ads just so we can learn the process. Right. And like you said, we could watch videos to try to get it as good as we can. But at the end of the day, you just kind of plunge in. You're like, oh, but we're talking like $5 a day.
$5 a day for 3 days.
$5,000. And then what's so funny is when people ask me, well, how much is your 6-week hand-holding master course? Oh, it's $3,700. That is ridiculous. I'm like, you lost $5,000 in 6 months because you just had to try it. But it's funny to me how we all justify that. It's the same exact me putting 10 lots on, getting on an airplane, and just going, well, I hope this goes well. Right? It's the same thing. When you transfer $5,000 into a broker account, you're kind of excited because you're going, oh, process. It's in there. And, your broker goes, you're now funded. You can trade. Woo. And it's like, ooh, what's the first one? We all go through that.
Not what's the first setup.
Right. It's just like,
what's the first one? When can I click buy or sell?
Yeah, just, buy.
Where's the button? There's the button.
Watch it. Oh, look, and then you start to learn the way the candlesticks go. It's all meant to shake you off. And I will tell you, I still struggle. I struggle more on the winning trades than the losers. It's almost like if it instantly goes to a loss, I'm already expecting it. But if it's like, boom, pops into profit, now the million decisions you got to make, because we've talked about it on the show lots. Everyone focuses on that one decision. It's just like in fitness. What's going to make my arms big? Right? Or my favorite one in fitness is women. Well, I can't do what you do because I don't want to get big.
Don't worry, you won't.
Yeah. Well, I'm just like, do you know how disrespectful Or like even a dude. Well, I don't ever want to be as big as you, so
don't worry, you won't.
I will never yeah, and it's just like, do you know how disrespectful that is to someone who is really into fitness? And you're like, well, I don't, not so much that you're commenting on their physique as if that's not your goal, but to assume you're gonna get to that level by lifting weights 3 times a week and not dieting. No. It's I don't know how we got on that subject, but when people only focus on that one decision, give me a strategy that works all the time. It's not going to work.
I'm going to be a scalper.
Or they're in search for this. For instance, when I put trade ideas on TradingView, I've gotten very vague. They're a high-level view, 4-hour daily chart based around pivot points, right? And I'm kind of just saying it's highly likely it's going to go bullish from this zone up. And I even say in there, does it mean I take a buy trade when it gets there? It means I'm going to watch on a smaller time frame and confirm through price action. Or does it mean that I'm necessarily even going to take the trade? But like I post it and people will comment, so does that mean you're buying or selling? Almost as if they want that plausible deniability. And I'm like, well, did you watch the video? Because I explained, I think price is going to get here. Then I'm going to want to see how it reacts when it gets there.
Do you think by asking that question, these people are trying to run from accountability?
Well, they're putting the responsibility, because if Clayton, the day trading plumber, said it was a buy and he buys it and it's wrong, he could be like, well,
Clayton sucks.
Clayton sucks. On to the next guru out there. What's the next podcast I can listen to?
What the hell is that guy doing?
And what I'm really trying to do as I develop as a coach in this area, because I've been a coach in plumbing, I've been a coach in wrestling, I've been a coach in t-ball. I've taught plumbing classes. I know how to coach people, and I know how to lead people on job sites. And my approach, I feel, is the best approach, where I let people figure out their own way. I will show you what I do. Just like you put 5 master plumbers in a room with CAD. We've done this experiment before, because usually CAD personnel.
What is CAD?
Computer-aided drafting. They like to be called something different now. It's almost like human resources is people services. And then next year it's pleasant people, whatever they come up with.
Marketers are the arts and crafts department.
We're forming people's lives. So usually your CAD drafter is not a plumber. They might be. They may have been one of the old guys they pulled in. Usually they are pretty good, but say they're just awesome at CAD. Now you got to put plumber with CAD person, because everyone does it different. So you get 5 master plumbers, sit down with a CAD person. They're going to take the same exact hotel room, and you're going to get 5 different ways to do it. Guaranteed. Trading is no different.
Is that like a trader with an EA programmer?
Well, no, because, an EA programmer, he's going to tell him his strategies. Now, the end game is the same. The plumbing must work, and it must meet code. So if we break this down, it's like, you must make money. That's the goal we all have. Profitability. And you have to follow the rules of the regulations, right? Like in America, FIFO and no hedging. That's why, like overseas, they hedge a lot. They have other ways of trading, like spread betting,
Well, you said you might have a guy who has an account and he's trading the losers the opposite direction on his other account.
Yeah, well, in America, if I wanted to take someone's hedging strategy from overseas, I would have to have 2 broker accounts, and then just take the opposite trade in a different account.
On a losing position, right?
Yeah, I'd take the opposite. So how some people do this, why they use it, they're caught in drawdown. You don't put stop losses on It's just if it moves against you, you open let's say I sell euro US dollar. So on one account, that trade goes bad. Well, I just buy it on another account. And overall, my portfolio is equaling itself out minus the spreads. That's why me personally, I don't get why people hedge, because the only one that wins is the broker, because he just made spread on 2 trades.
Unless you take a different lot size.
And you're really, yeah. However, what you're really hoping is this one goes so much in drawdown that this was in massive profit, and a lot of people get really greedy, so they take the profit in hopes that it's going to come back, and they profit on both trades. Now, be able to do that on your own on one account. I've heard people do this so their margin levels stay so they can keep trading, right? So now you're just like, you got one in profit, one in not in profit. So then you have free margin to keep trading. To each their own, right? If you're profitable, it's just like I'm 4 weeks into my first masterclass, and where I teach my students how to run my automated robot and the settings that I put in there. And this robot can be traded a billion different ways. I just teach the way I do it, what's given me success, and the settings that we use. Because for the 6 weeks, we all take the same trades. We watch the robot. I get it in trouble, and we try to get it out of trouble. Where I'm at in the stage of the training is now, based on the journeyman and apprentice courses, you should know what type of trader you are. And if you're not confident in discretionarily trading your way when the robot gets out of trouble, this is the time you pause and wait it out, or you make the decision to cut it off early. I like to trade my way out of trouble because I've practiced my discretionary strategies enough. I know what I'm looking for. I'm confident in it, knowing I'm taking a little bit more risk to do that rollover trade. But it's just funny to see how many people think there's a magic pill. Think by wearing a mask, you're not going to get COVID. It's just crazy to me because there is no secret in trading. The secret is hard work and taking losses, and hopefully those losses are smaller than your winners. It's as simple as that.
I told you we've been consumed with ads, or I've been consumed with ads and marketing. The hour that I put in that ad that it went live this week, I was immediately thinking about the next ad. What's the next thing? And while you've been talking tonight, I just came up with another idea and I wrote it down. Listening to you, consuming what you're saying. Do traders think about the next trade right after they enter one trade?
Yes. However, the dangerous part is oftentimes they're thinking about the next trade as they're still in the first trade. One of the biggest...
That's what I just asked.
Well, you were thinking after their first trade.
Oh, yeah.
Trade.
Excuse me. That's what I meant. While you're in a trade, are you thinking about the next trade?
Yeah. And it's dangerous in the beginning.
Does that act as a distraction so you're not watching carefully the first trade?
Well, for instance, let's say you trade no stops. Oh, I'm waiting this one out.
I know
I need to find another one. That's why we're so adamant about you build a plan. That plan needs to be backed by hours of back testing. So you know the probabilities. What's difficult is back testing on multiple pairs and multiple trading strategies gets really complicated. And that takes time and experience. That's what we call the playbook. I have 3 or 4 strategies that I can rely on because I know how those work. However, you start stacking what strategy was this trade and that trade on different pairs, it can get very complicated, for lack of better words. So in the beginning of trading, I always tell people, if you can break these 2 traits, not quitting when you're ahead, delayed gratification. My buddy Rob Booker taught me this years and years ago. Make $1 and stop. And, people will be like, $1, I can't pay my car payment. then their true needs of why they need a trade come out. Well, I'm never going to be a millionaire. You are never going to be a millionaire if you can't stop when you're ahead. I can promise you that. So the first thing you got to learn, make $1 a day or a week. Stop for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months. Guess what? You're a profitable trader. You can hang that on your wall now. You've made it past majority of people. Then it's like one trade at a time. You're not skilled enough for multiple trades. But when everyone jumps in, they're fighting that urge like, I have to be working to make money. Because everything else we do in this world, when you're a plumber, when you get behind, or construction, you're never done and you're never on time and it's never cheap enough. So you're always told, quit standing around, work, get higher productivity, go. And if you bring that into trading, it computes to, I need to find the next trade. I need to be in a trade. I found myself many times being market flat, which is a good feeling for about 3 seconds. Then you go, oh my God, I got to be in a trade, right? Like right now, as we're recording this, I'm not in any trades.
How does that feel?
It feels good now, but in the beginning of trading, you're like, oh, I got to be in a trade or I can't make money. I always teach people, if you're not in a trade, you can't lose money. And that should be your mindset in the very beginning. Because the goal, I hate putting timelines of things because people are all different. But let's say your first year of trading, your goal is to just not lose money. You're going to have wins. And then now you got to figure out how to keep that win. And then, for instance, Duncan's trade today, when he asked the group, hey, I was banana head and I used way too much leverage and put in way too big of a trade on, fat fingered it, right? Which, did he fat finger it or did he, who knows? Because that's what I say when I do that.
I believe you, Duncan.
He missed the decimal point. And here's
that's the power of 10, right?
Yeah, think about it. If you have the capital in your account and you're thinking you're putting in a one lot, 1.0 on MT4 app, and you forget the decimal point, you just put in 10 lots.
Uh-oh.
Oh! That's $1 million position. And each pip is $100. So if it goes wrong, it's going to go wrong fast. I will tell you, because I trade 10 pip or 10 lots on a $50,000 account quite frequently. Just opening that position on a major pair when liquidity is high, right? Like in a session, you're down 130 the second you hit the button with spread. At least the way mine's set up. I have a wider spread because I don't pay commissions. Even if you have a normal narrow spread account, you're going to be 80 to 100 in the hole. So you fat finger it, you panic, $80. Now it starts moving against you. It's $100 a pip. And $500 loss comes pretty freaking fast. When people got to pay attention. And those are the mistakes I'm talking about. You need to learn on a demo. Too many people reach out to me and they've never traded on a desktop. They're like, hey man, I watched your video on how to open a demo account on MT4 on my phone. And I love putting trades in right at a red light and then driving home. It's like, it's no way to get into trading because you're not treating it like a business.
You're not respecting it.
Right. And, it's a great way to put it because these markets demand respect. And me chopping out $800 right before breakfast because I got FOMO'd and missed the move and I got lucky. And then me throwing on 10 lots right before I get on a plane. I'm lucky I didn't open it up and it's $25,000 loss. Think about $100 a pip not that far stretch to think the feds are talking about rates and, you get off a plane 2 hours later and it's moved 100 pips and you're like 10 grand gone.
I got to listen to the Stocks and Sandals appearance this week.
Yeah, what'd you think?
You did well. DJ and
Mike Sabala. Yeah, great guys.
Pretty good dudes.
Yeah, they're great guys. I think they're doing a really good service.
I'll put that link in the show notes.
Yeah, good guys, great Facebook group. I think they're realizing it's a lot more work than it was chalked up to be to moderate a Facebook group, keep the spammers out. And, we talked a little bit about it in their podcast. They both instantly, like when I started commenting on there, anything Forex is just instantly written off as a scam to them.
Well, they're a bit scam paranoid because I reached out on Sunday when I was doing the newsletter to DJ and he ignored me for a bit until I realized who I am. Because I just wanted to say, thank you for having Clayton on. And then we just talked about producer stuff that isn't interesting to anybody else.
So were you like, hey man, really love the show. Here, give me, why would you think you're
how could I have said that if it hadn't been released until Tuesday?
I'm just wondering because usually if you post a link on their Facebook, it triggers them to go.
Well, I think what happened was I tried to connect first and I didn't realize I could just direct message them. Maybe it's because I'm used to LinkedIn. But anyway, thank you for having you on. And, what links do you want me to share? That whole thing. A whole bunch of back office stuff that you front runners don't really care about. But it was just funny because scammers ruin everything. They ruin marketing. They ruin Forex. You guys,
online dating.
They ruin Facebook groups. They ruin online dating. And I'm convinced that scammers are going to hell because they're making our lives so difficult, and I hate them.
I 100% agree with you. However, they test all of the holes in anything. It's annoying, but it's almost like arbitrage trading.
Right.
It makes it efficient, right? What really sucks is for a lazy entrepreneur like myself. And, I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. Once I figure something out, I just want it to, stay the same. But these scammers cause everything to change. That's what pisses me off the most. Now, I don't know about you, but somehow my phone number is in like every political.
Oh, it's political season for sure.
Yeah, and I get, they need you now. I just have to text stop to these. And it's just like, just goes from one to another to another. Apparently my social security is at threat. And, I got to call these people and give them my social security number. My new favorite one is, I'm Billy Torrington. I won the Powerball and your name came up in my drawing. Where do I send your free $1 million?
I did that on Instagram just to see what would happen. And it went right to personal stuff. I was like, all right, I'll see you around.
Here's one I got today. This one was actually, I haven't seen before. Email was from the United States, directly from the U.S. Postal Service. And it has a link. It says, hey, I mailed you a package. Let me know when you get it. And it has a tracking
I've gotten
link.
A couple of those this week.
And I know not to click because I'm like, well, who is this? What'd you send me? What address did you send it to? No, really, click the link. And I'm like, no, dude. You think I go, and it says there's a check for $1,900 in there. And I'm like, for what? And it's like, you just ask a few probing questions. They're gone.
I like asking, does this really work on people?
Yeah.
Hoping I'll get someone to respond. Creepy. You tell me if this is creepy, and we're going to talk about the impact.
All right.
Amazon is launching a camera drone to patrol the inside of your house through their Ring brand that they bought. It's also releasing one to patrol the outside of your home. Are we slowly accepting the invasion of our privacy as a means to make life easier? Being private is diligent and can be difficult.
So what do you need a drone scanning the inside of your house for?
Well,
What
governments throughout history have instilled very abusive or invasive policies telling you it's about your safety.
Yes.
I won't get into the history of the 20th century, but you can put it together because our listeners are smart. Just go through the 20th century and think about overreaching governments and how the message was always your personal safety. So there's that. There's that part of it. People want to know what's going on in their homes. That creeps me the hell out. Now, the Roomba takes a map of your house. That creeps me the hell out.
The floor.
Well, right. It's the floor layout. Being a disciplined trader and sticking to the rules, is that the hardest trait to instill?
Yes, because when you start out, you have to be extremely rule-based. Because that's what's going to... Think about plumbing. The potential of you flugging this is way greater when you're inexperienced. The potential of you losing all of your money is way greater in the beginning of trading. The frustrating part about trading versus plumbing is usually you're paired up with someone like a journeyman, and you have to sweep floors, and you have to do the bullshit work, kind of like Karate Kid when he's like, wash the cars, but do it this way. And the kid doesn't know why. I thought you were going to teach me karate. And he's like, I am. You know, same thing. In the finance world, all you need is capital. And you're in.
You don't even need to know a guy now.
No. I mean, you just, you listen to this podcast, you hear I use Oanda as a broker. You go to oanda.com and they're like, open an account today. They've removed a lot of the friction. And of course, you got to sign 19 pages of disclaimers saying you're not going to sue them when you lose it all. But it's so funny because now that I'm getting into the coaching business, how many people are so reluctant? And I hate it because there is a lot of scammers out there. There is a lot of people selling crap. There's a lot of people who never put the time or effort in to become a profitable, consistent trader. And, there is that question. If you're consistently profitable trading, why would you coach people? But there is a few genuinely people out there who do want to help people avoid the same mistakes. I'm not setting out on this coaching career in hopes that I could buy a yacht one day and be like, make millions of dollars like I did with one simple strategy. Because it's not that simple. People that are telling you that are simply trying to make the quick buck. I became a millionaire off one stupid pattern. Maybe so. But at the end of the day, I truly believe you need a coach. You need that journeyman plumber so you don't flood the building to guide you to become the best trader you're going to become. Looking around that just because you want to do it yourself, I was that person. I like to do things like you were saying with ads. I like to figure things out on my own. That's fine. Just do it on a demo account.
As cheaply as possible.
And spend some of that money on a good coach that you can relate to, who can show you the ropes. And whether that's me or someone else that you relate to, it can greatly help you in the long run. Because otherwise you're going to pay that money in education one way or another. I promise you. Unless you're one of these, who's the soccer player, the really good guy?
Messi? Lionel Messi?
Right. Unless you're him, God's gift to trading, where you just step on a field and the ball just seems to go in the net. And you just put a trade on when you get on an airplane, you get off and it went 25 grand your way every time. I'm just saying, there's not a lot of people out there like that. And quite honestly, I've never met one. Are you wearing a mask because you're scared and generally feel like it's helping? Or are you wearing a mask because everyone else is? If you think about trading, don't do what everyone else is. That's too easy. Do the hard work. Make your own decisions. Base it off some sound, true analysis that either you've done or someone could prove they've done. Just get going. Do it the right way. It's going to take work.
Thank you very much for listening. Please join us next week.
Over and out.
If you'd like to learn more about Clayton's signals, please visit www.alrfx.com. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram at OFPMatt.